All right, this lesson is all about 5 ways you can travel the world for fun and profit. If you watched the Discount Travel Secrets modules, the very first one, I talked about this. When I went to college, I went to school for international hospitality and tourism management. And the introductory class was also an elective. This was through the School of Business that almost everybody, I feel like, took this class, and it was Traveling the World for Fun and Profit was the name of the class. And this was back in 2012, 2013. So back then it was very different than what's available today. But in this lesson, we have some more updated things. Okay, so these are 5 of the easiest and most common ways to live and work anywhere in the world. If you're looking through an education lens, this could be just going to school anywhere in the world. I grew up in Ohio, but I chose to go to college in Florida because I got a postcard in the mail that had palm trees, and it was like, wouldn't you like to go to a school that looks like this every day? And I said, yes, I would. That was high on my list of things, actually, was the climate. It had to be like a tropical climate. And I also liked the idea of being close to Disney World so that I could go to Disney whenever I wanted. And when I looked up where this school was, it's about 45 minutes to an hour from Disney World. It's like an hour north of Tampa. It was like a small private school, and they had a tourism degree program. So I was like, this fits everything I need. It is the only school I applied to, and I got into the honors program, got into the leadership program. Like, they gave me everything. So between that and using my dad's GI Bill, I didn't have to pay anything for school. And I could have done that, anywhere in the world, and I chose Florida. Another thing is even for grad school or an internship or study abroad. One of my sorority sisters, she got a Rotary scholarship to get her master's degree in Scotland, and I went to visit her while she was doing that. And that was, she was given a stipend for like living expenses and everything. So there's a lot of ways that you can do education abroad to at least get some sort of glimpse of getting to travel, even if it's just short term. One really good one that a lot of my sorority sisters did was Semester at Sea. I really wish I could have fit this in, but I did an internship instead with Disney because that's where I had wanted to work, and I did for a while. But Semester at Sea, you literally go on a cruise ship for a semester, and they have ones that do like all of South America. They do ones that do like Asia, circling Africa, and then coming back up to Europe. Like, you really go all over, and you're, taking classes that you should be taking classes that apply to your degree program that your school accepts, so that you're not essentially just taking a semester off, because then that would kind of not really be pointless, but it doesn't help you graduate. So if that's the purpose, then don't do it for that. But Semester at Sea is a really good one for that. Another thing is just short-term experiences in general. So if you're just doing a gap year, or maybe you have the summer off, either because, you're in school and have summers off, or you're a teacher and have summers off. There's a lot of things that you can do where you can work in exchange for like room and board, and you can make like tip money. So one of my friends in college did this. I forget the name of the organization. It might be listed in here or in the like in the discussion, but he had a family host him. It was like in Germany, and he worked at the bar, so he was able to have tip money. He also, came with some money, but like room and board was free. And then he got to, travel around. He ended up staying in Europe for, I think, like a year or something, and like went to Croatia and all kinds of random things. But to at least just get your foot in the door, if maybe you just have small pockets of time to do stuff, short-term things like summer camps. I was supposed to work one summer, a summer camp up in Maine, and that portion of the US is like one of the only ones I hadn't been to. But then Disney came out with their summer alumni program that they hadn't done in like a decade. So then I was like, okay, obviously I'm going to go do that instead. But being a nanny or an au pair, there's a lot of short-term opportunities if you have only small pockets of time that you want to travel. And this is something, if usually for the younger crowd, for sure, like if you're in your 20s, but really even at any age, like if you just don't have the money to go do some big extravagant trip, but you want to go to some place and you're willing to kind of trade a little bit of your time to at least just be able to go and experience something, then this is a good option. You can also do volunteer trips. So when I was in college, our school sponsored these where the school paid 25% of the cost and we paid the rest. These were service trips, and the first year we did Ecuador, and we were hosted by this center that trains and educates whole families to do any sort of skills that are marketable. So we stayed there and we toured that facility and volunteered doing different projects like digging out the foundation for a home and doing other home visits, visiting the workshop and working in the workshop. We did stuff like that. The year after that, I actually led my own trip with someone else. We were co-leaders, and it was also part of my I was a leadership minor, so that was considered my internship for my minor, was leading this trip because we planned it from start to finish. We went to Costa Rica, we volunteered at an orphanage and an animal sanctuary, but we also did fun stuff. We went ziplining at the Arenal volcano. We went into town to go have dinners. We were staying at this hostel, this resort hostel, and since it was like all girls on this trip, we had our own big room of like 6 or 8 of us or something like that. And so it was, you got to do all the fun stuff in Costa Rica. It was supplemented 25% by the school. And we did a little bit of work, so it wasn't vacation the entire time. But when I look back on the trip, it doesn't feel like I was working the whole time. I remember all the experiences that I got to do in Costa Rica. I was actually supposed to do this another time. My school gave aspirational grants. It was $2,000 per person, and you just had to pitch them, what aspirational trip do you want to go on this summer? And we're going to pick like 10 people and give it to them. So some people walked the Camino, and my sorority sister and I, we were going to go to Peru, visit Machu Picchu, and it was going to be part of this program where it's one of these where it's like you volunteer some of your time, they put up room and board, but then this one included all those excursions. We were supposed to do that. We weren't able to get onto our plane to get there, so the whole trip ended up being canceled, but it's still a way to go do all of these things. So even if you're not like in school where the school can supplement it, there's organizations that do exactly like what the school did, where you get to travel these places for cheap. They put you up, they can plan a whole itinerary for you for excursions, and you just help out with different projects, and they have these all over the world. Okay, another option is also just working in the tourism industry. This could mean literally anything, but the main one that comes to mind if you're thinking of what like job could you have that allows you to travel the world, like that you're employed by somebody else. Cruise lines would be a big one. You know, the frontline stuff isn't a lot of money, but if you are more management level, there's still those kinds of roles on cruise ships as well. Guided vacations, so being a tour guide, or like what my dream job was. I used to sell guided vacations for Trafalgar and Cost Saver. Cost Saver is part of the Trafalgar brand. There's a job that a lot of people have that you go out to all of these different places. Should we take everyone to? What's the itinerary going to be? So you build these trips, and your job is to go around and find stuff to make trips out of. And that was my dream, was to do that for Adventures by Disney. Now I do it myself on nobody else's terms but my own. So that ended up working out. But yeah, tourism industry, the thing is that it's really easy to get a job in the tourism industry because the turnover rate is 100%, meaning if you hire 10 people within 1 year, all 10 of those people will have quit or been fired or moved on to something else, and you will have replaced those 10 people. So they're always looking. Airlines, one of my best friends growing up is an airline pilot. He flies all over the world now. So there's lots of different skills and interests that you can do in the tourism industry that can allow you to travel the world for fun and for profit. And like I hinted at a minute ago, self-employment. If you're self-employed, whenever you want, you can just be wherever. One good thing about this is there's a lot of countries around the world that are significantly cheaper for cost of living than the US. So say your business is making like $5,000 a month, and that could be fine if you maybe have like roommates, or a spouse or significant other that also has a job, or you just live within your means. You have like a one bedroom apartment, you don't have like a car loan or student loans or anything like that. 5,000 is can be fine. But if you make $5,000 somewhere else in the world, like Bali, like you would feel like a six-figure earner there. The benefit of that is if you have your own schedule, your business is online where you can be whenever, wherever, you can go to places that are cheaper. A great way to do this as well, if you like pets. I do not, so I personally would not do this, but there's house sitting organizations. I think it's just called house sitters. I'd have to look it up, but you could also Google it. You can stay in these people's houses for free. You just have to take care of their pet. Like, that's it. There's a ton of travel bloggers that I'm in a group with. They all do this, like all over the world. And sometimes they want you for like a month at a time. They basically just put out a listing, just like an Airbnb type thing, and tell you like, what kind of pet it is, what's involved in taking care of it. And most of the time it's just, you got to feed it, you got to let it out. But this still allows you to go do stuff and explore a new area and stay there for free. So that's a good way to save money and also still be traveling and making money at the same time. So these are just a few ideas. Something else that came to mind, more like not really volunteering because you're paid, but short term, is the KOA campgrounds. A lot of them take like seasonal volunteers during like peak seasons, and they just work around the campgrounds, monitoring like the bathrooms, or like if they have a water park or like the gift shop or whatever. And they can, park their RV or stay in a tent if that's what they do. They can stay there for free for the duration of that season in exchange for doing some work for them. Another good one that saves money, a little bit off topic from this, but maybe not, as far as like if you're self-employed or you have like freedom of location, there's a company called Harvest Hosts where you pay a yearly membership. I want to say it's only like $100. I don't think it's a lot of money. And if you have an RV that is like self-contained, so you have like your own water, I guess, like own bathroom, I think is really what they mean by that. That all these different like museums, wineries, breweries, farms, all kinds of stuff are part of this group where you can park there overnight for free as long as you have your own, facilities. So like I really think it's like you just need your own bathroom that you're able to do this. So if you just pay that one membership fee, after like 5 nights a year, it's kind of paid for itself. So you could do like RV living for like super, super cheap. You may have to travel around based off of logistically like what's around, or use that to supplement staying in places that are paid. But that'll help you kind of do that lifestyle and enjoy it a little bit more because you're not paying for every single night that you're in there. And that's going to be a lot cheaper than having a place to live that you're paying like bills and all of that stuff on. So anyway, those are just some ideas of 5 ways that are really popular right now to travel the world for fun and for profit.